Alright, this is Block 3, Progressives in Power, Section 2, Who Were the Progressives, with the section starting with Henry James. This section is about American writers at the time. I didn't really know where else to throw these in, but these guys generally tend towards progressivism in their political opinions, so here they live. Here's Henry James. He was an American writer who lived in England. He wrote lots of novels, and the theme of Henry James's novels was something that we talked about earlier in class this year. American innocence, the innocence of the frontier society, versus European sophistication and corruption. There are sophisticated, scheming, intelligent, worldly, cultured Europeans against pure, innocent, naive Americans. And his novels all revolve around this theme. His most famous novel is Washington Square, and his short story, The Turn of the Screw, is short, it's good, and it gives you a decent introduction into who this writer, Henry James, was. Another famous writer was Stephen Crane. Stephen Crane died young, he was only 29, and he's most famous for his book, The Red Badge of Courage, which is a psychological study of soldiers in the Civil War. And he wrote with incredible realism and incredible power about what war did to people and what war really was all about, even though he had never been to war. You would never know it from reading The Red Badge of Courage. The Red Badge of Courage is a short book. It's a good book. I encourage you all to read it. Finally, is perhaps the greatest American writer ever to live. Samuel L. Clemens, more commonly known as Mark Twain. Mark Twain was the greatest novelist and writer, in my opinion, that the United States ever produced. He was a master of satire. He could poke fun and would poke fun at everybody and everything, mostly the government. His stories featured regional color. Reading Mark Twain puts you in the scenes that he is painting with words. Detailed description, use of dialect, how people talked in a Mississippi town in 1880 comes through by reading one page of Mark Twain. His works include The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, which a lot of people consider to be the greatest, the perfect example of the American novel, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, and lots of short stories as well. The Amazing Jumping Frog of Calaveras County, stories about the American West, and he's in this progressive section because he aimed his fire many times at the corruption and hypocrisy of the trusts, of the government. And if you've never read Mark Twain, go read a couple short stories by the man. He's hilarious, he's biting, he's relevant to today. Very likely the greatest writer that America ever produced.